Hi, my name is Callie, and this video is about my Module 3 Direct Lesson Number 1 Sample Lesson Plan. This is for CURR, C-U-R-R 3 or 4, Curriculum and Methods Elementary for Elizabeth Johnson. So for step 1, it talks about the breakdown of the format section that she has given us. So let's see, breakdown of each component in the format section, speaking about what you were saying that will lend insight into how it was designed. So first off, it has the lesson title, state standard, the objective, and then it has things like criteria, audience, behavior, and degree. So for the lesson title, it says we're on the same team, captivating, explorating, blah blah blah. So it just talks about how it kind of gives an overview of what the whole lesson is about. This tells me that this is going to be about empowering and integrating power and having more than just one goal, but also being able to prioritize which one is the most important. So the state standard, it talks about how this relates to the standards put forth by Michigan. Well, for this one, for where I am and for what this school is for, it's for Michigan state standards for schooling for elementary kids. So this one is state an issue as a question of public policy and discuss possible solutions from different perspectives. So this one basically just wants us to discuss and question public policies. This is very important, especially even at young ages. So let's see, for objective, following a whole group dialogue on what the solution is, third grade students, so this is for third grade, discuss two possible solutions for a common goal in a whole class setting and orally share out to the whole class. So this is very important because this talks about what is the plan. So I've heard what the state tells us we need to do. I've heard kind of what the lesson is about, empowering. The state wants us to question public policy and discuss it, but the objective is what are the students going to get out of this? So the students are going to come up with at least two possible solutions for a common goal, and they're going to do it as a whole class, and they're going to share with each other, comment on each other. Maybe they like this person's better because of what, So it also talks about criteria. So following a whole group dialogue and what a solution is. So this talks about, this is needs to come from the whole group. It's not from one kid doing all the work. The audience is third graders. This is how I know who this lesson is for. I know it's not for sixth graders. This would be too easy for them. I know it's not for kindergartners. I know it would be maybe too hard for them, of course. Always exceptions. Behavior that they are trying to do or show is that they're trying to show the behavior of discussing. So they're trying to show that the kids know how to discuss and have a conversation about specific things and being able to question. So the degree at two possible solutions for a common goal in a whole class setting. So the degree kind of just talks about that there's the whole goal is that there's two possible solutions, not just one, there's two. And so that is the goal of the lesson, or I should say the degree of the lesson. So to continue, step 1 of this lesson plan, it is still under format, so I have to discuss the relationship between the standard and the objective. So just a reminder, the standard was to state an issue as a question of public policy and discuss possible solutions from different perspectives. So then the objective was following a whole group dialogue on what a solution is. Third grade students will discuss two possible solutions for a common goal in the whole class setting and orally share with the whole class. So the connection between the two is they both, most importantly, have the word discuss. So it's not just going to be having one kid or every kid writing down. They're going to actually have a discussion. They're going to communicate what their thoughts and feelings are, and they're going to listen to each other's thoughts and feelings. They'll think about it and understand it, maybe add to it, maybe question something. So the whole idea is that this is going to be a whole group thing. They're not just doing it to write it down and give to a teacher. Has to engage everyone. Still on step 1, this is part C. When you view the title, what are the specific expectations of what will be included in the direct lesson? So basically, also says remember your title should foreshadow the lesson. So basically, just by even choosing the most random, like 5 words, such as same, team, empowering, integrating, goals, prioritizing, I just chose some random words from the title. I'm able to understand kind of what is the goal of that lesson. So the goal is that we are all on the same team, that we're all trying to accomplish good things, like such as there's a common goal for the whole class in the setting, and they have to share and they have to talk about it. So I know from the lesson that they're going to be on the same side, but there might be some differences because it's stating we're on the same side. And this talks about information pertaining to empowering, integrating power, and having many goals and prioritizing one. So I know there's going to be multiple parts that we're going to have to, somehow in this lesson, it's going to involve talking about these are all great goals, but what is the most important one? What is step one? What is the thing that we cannot move on without completing? This is also going to show them how to, be empowered. They're going to have to share their thoughts and feelings. If they have a thought, that this is a great idea, or we're forgetting something, or I don't know, maybe they just don't like something, they will need to speak up, and so they need to empower themselves, and we need to empower each other. I am now on step 2. This involves addressing the steps 1 through 7 of the lesson plan. Answer questions such as, what is the specific role of the teacher in each step? Discuss how the students are engaged physically and cognitively in each step, along with how did the author of this lesson utilize visuals of the lesson. So I'm going to hold up fingers so you know which one it is. So for the first lesson, the teacher acted as a guide, giving them discussion questions along with the attention getter, because I keep saying she, sorry, because they were dressed up. The students were able to get up and they got into groups. It sounds like they got to choose their groups, and they were able to brainstorm together rather than individually. So they were able to also brainstorm with the class and share their ideas and their thoughts. And visually, the teacher dressed up to get the children's attention. They also had the students write down their ideas together. The teacher gave a brief explanation of what the class was going to be about, and so what the lesson was going to be about, why they're doing this. Sorry, that's the next part. The kids were able to see the colors and possibly themselves in the picture that the teacher showed of the globe with the kids, and also had the writing about what she was discussing. Well, I know I already kind of said this in the first part, but discussing at least 2 possible solutions for a common goal in a whole class setting. So she had that, I assume, presented to them, and so they were able to watch that. And that also was part of the visual effect of being able to have that picture up there. So let's see, the kids were cognitively engaged through that. It's hard to tell. I'm sure they're still sitting, but if not, then standing could be physically. So for 3, the teacher gave reasoning why they were doing this lesson week. Why is this important to discuss this? The students, were engaged cognitively because they were like, why are we doing this? Assumingly. Not really visual, except for the teacher still dressed up. The teacher for the 4th acted as kind of like a reminder to the previous lessons and previous things that they had done with the students, providing them a possible connection to the lesson, talking about how, reminding them, talking about discussion, the word discuss. Remember that time we discussed throwing paper airplanes? That's a discussion. So she's connecting it to something that they already know. They also act as a guide and a timekeeper, because they would ask a question and then be only a minute, and then would gather the kids up again. Students were engaged because they were able to be reminded of previous lessons, and also the teacher also didn't have them think about it for too long, like I said, a minute or so. Teacher also played a short video which had them interested cognitively, and then they got together with their townspeople to discuss the differences in their own communities, which gives them kind of a physical, could argue, because they were able to kind of think about and maybe even show with their bodies about why their community may have been different than their peers. Again, kind of visuals could kind of have some, could kind of not, because it could be the kids were showing instead of just discussing or telling, because discussing could be, again, showing. 5, teacher was really just a timekeeper and a question guide, offering them hints And through those questions, making them think deeper, more about it. The kids were engaged because the teacher kept the ball moving, new questions every few minutes, they would be discussing for a few minutes, and then the teacher would stop and give them another thing to talk about, so they never were able to just kind of sit there and be like, I don't know why we're still doing this, we've already answered this question, la la. She also had a group that was relatively quiet, share their ideas, so everybody was able to get their words out, even if you were shy, or if you don't really feel listened to, they were able to share. Let's see. 6. Sorry, it's the sign language. 6. The teacher gave them a good set amount of time for them to work in groups. She didn't say specifics about you need to answer these few questions. She just kind of said you got to have, like, I would recommend with this 15 minutes that you split it in half and do this part for the first half and this part for the second to make sure you have time to do it all. Oops. And so for how the students were engaged with the 6th, the students were able to work on a poster, which is always more fun than just writing, along with kind of being their own timekeepers, which is terrifying and also not. The lesson utilized visuals because the kids, again, were allowed to make a poster. It's not just them writing a book or typing it in class, And for the 7th one, it really, the idea for the teacher was to kind of give them a goal for the night, told them that this is kind of what you need to do. You need to talk to someone in your household about what community means to them and kind of write that down, but also draw a picture. The teacher utilized pictures and visuals a lot in these lessons, and so she wanted to have the family, or I should say the household, brought in, so it's not just the kid, so the kid knows it's not just me, it's like, this is important, like, community is a big thing. It's not just, I've got to learn this, like 2 + 2 is 4. Everybody has some sort of community, whether they feel part of it or not, one way or another. There's a community that surrounds them. So I got a little too deep in that. So discuss how the students are engaged physically and cognitively. So the students will actually have to walk up or roll up or whatever to their family member or whatever and talk and ask them about those questions. And then they would actually have to physically, color or cut or print or whatever they would want to do, type and swipe and whatever, in order to get this project done to show what they learned. The author utilized art because they're making a poster in this lesson, and yeah, first part of step 2. I'm still on step 2, but I'm on question 2 for that step. It talks about within the input and modeling section, it's supposed to be what components are to be included in an input and modeling section, like cite and research your answer. I have the sources that I use at the end of my video, so you'll see one of them I really, really liked, and I wrote that I really liked that one, just so you know. Anyway, so for input part of it, it kind of talks about possibly like lecture, handouts, explanation. If there's like visual learners and stuff, like, you might want to do some, like I said, like maybe some videos. Kinesthetic learners, you might want to do like involve some movement. That's what you want to do. To design this kind of phase in a lesson, so you need to have, like, the teacher must already have analyzed the final objective and identify the knowledge and skill that will be acquired. So basically kind of like looking at the goals. And then everything should be chunked into digestible, as the site said, or small portions that's tailored to the students. So it helps them understand. So in the lesson it talked about, it went through each specific word and it broke down what does it mean to discuss, what is, and we were trying to figure all these specific things, but it actually went through vocabulary that they would have probably hear, that they would have to use, and so that they could better understand what they're reading, hearing, and saying. For the modeling part, so this needs to students need to see the kind of thinking and language a new task will require before they engage in the task independently. So this means, like, they got to see the teacher and they got to hear the teacher's thoughts. They got to understand, like, how is she or he going between these steps. Teachers should provide examples, like for example, the teacher talked about for discussing throwing a piece of paper. She told them the definition of the word, what it means, and then the example was that. Remember when we discussed da-da-da? That's what a discussion is, and that's what we're going to be doing today, kind of thing. Let's see. They should slowly, or not slowly, as slowly as required by the student's age and abilities. The teachers should kind of describe what they're thinking, how they're thinking it, and also modeling experiences are crafted upon student prior knowledge and should create some schema. So this should just be some basic knowledge that they can use towards their final goal and final objective that the teacher has set forth. So I'm still on step 2, the question 3 for this step. Just says, discuss how the author of this lesson plan utilized the 5 W's, who, what, where, and why, in designing their content for students. So for who, they were able to use who because they brought the student into it. They involved them. They made it centered around the students, and made them connect to the lesson. For what, the final wrap up thing, they went back to the original question. What is a community? They talked about how they are part of communities that's not just small, or not just big. It can be small. That even school is a community. I'm assuming they probably went through. And then where made students realize their community. Oh, kind of said this, but where made students realize that there are communities all around them, small and large. Everywhere they're always a part of a community, whether they may feel like it or not. There's always communities. When it made students that it's important to pay attention to what's around them, that along with living with their common goal, so that there's constantly a community around them all the time, one way or another. Why? The reason why we have communities and goals is it's to empower each other and themselves. It's very important for them to have confidence in themselves and have confidence in others. So for step 2, question 3, 4, whatever. I discuss how this process will specifically influence how I will design my direct lesson number 1. So this kind of broke down. I've made a couple lesson plans before. This kind of broke it down a little bit easier. So I actually like the color coding. Made it kind of easier to understand for myself, and it kind of having the who, what, where, when, why kind of structure really helps even just the teacher understand whatever, all those W's that the teacher should, or that the students should be getting out of it. So I plan to actually go through my lesson plans and color code to make sure I have all those 5 W's covered. See what am I missing. Do I have everything in an order that kind of makes sense, that also doesn't make the kids bored? Am I going to be creating too many pauses? Am I going to be giving them not enough time? This kind of setup really helps, because like I said, I've made a couple before and I wasn't able to use them with kids. Some of the activities I use, but not the lesson itself, of course, because I'm not a teacher yet. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to say thank you.